We know what you've come for. And now we're going to give it to you. You're listening to the No Such Thing podcast.
And we have with us Kathryn Streeter.
That's me.
From Connecticut, and this is the lady that said she could talk for 45 days. So I'm like, I'm having her on my podcast.
Well, I could ask my kids.
How many kids have you?
I have two. I have a 19-year-old daughter and a 23-year-old son.
Boy.
So, yeah.
Mine are only
You
five.
have little ones, right?
Yeah, I started late. I have a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old, but it's great. That keeps me.
Yeah.
It keeps me active. It keeps me.
God bless you.
It keeps my alcohol consumption down somewhat, because you have to be responsible.
Yeah, I know. I know. I had to quit smoking and all that stuff.
Yeah, I quit when my son was born. 10 years ago, I quit smoking.
Oh, did you? Because
Yeah.
I used to, I'd sneak a cigarette outside before I put him to bed. And one night I went up to put him to bed, and he just made this, this like, you stink noise. I mean, he was only 2 months old, but I could tell he didn't like the smell, so that's when I decided to quit.
Yeah, that changed everything. I remember one night I forgot. I could not remember putting my kid to bed. Mm-hmm. One like Sunday morning, and I'm like, that's enough of that shit.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay in your 20s and stuff. But
yeah.
So let's tell the listeners how I met you. We met on the. I hate saying this. Even after a couple of beers, it's very hard to say. So you want to
Massachusetts.
Squatchachusetts.
Yeah.
Which is a play on words for Massachusetts and Sasquatch.
Yes.
And it's a thriving community because apparently we have some activity up here, right?
Oh, lots of activity. People don't even realize how much. So, yeah, it's incredible.
But you know what I love about it is actually an author friend of mine, and he's actually been on the podcast, Mark Fannin. He's an author, and he's written a couple of books. And he was like, he heard that you were into QAnon, and he heard that you were into Bigfoot, and he's like, ask her about the connection. I'm like, I already did. I've got that covered. So we'll get into that. But that's
definitely.
Two of the biggest things that you want to talk about is Bigfoot and QAnon. So I would like to start off with what got you interested in Bigfoot. You've had experiences with Bigfoot, haven't you?
Yeah, I did, and I have probably many more times than I ever realized it. Because I know for a lot of people it all starts with the Bigfoot show, Finding Bigfoot, and I was one of those people who just that's just so ridiculous. I never even considered it except for the Patty video,
right?
And we were just recuperating over, we had all been sick, and so I had put that show on. It somehow it ended on it, and the part was where Renee and Bobo were standing in the woods in Florida, and a rock came flying by, and all of a sudden I thought, wait a minute, could this possibly be true? And I was very, very skeptic, but I couldn't not watch it anymore because it just really piqued my interest. And I've always been one of those who kind of, I'm kind of on the fringe of society.
Yeah.
I don't believe in, consensus. Consensus is not true in my book. So, if there's so many people say it doesn't exist, but, there's a ton of us saying, oh, absolutely. So, yeah.
The only reason why I'm 80% certain that it exists is because that I haven't seen one. If I see one, even in like a part of one, I'm 100% in because it's so plausible.
Yeah.
And have you met Alexander Petkov? He's on the
No.
website a lot. He does a lot of documentaries, and I interviewed him about it. I interviewed Crystal Panek about it. One of the things that ever since I've been, like, you know, hanging around the Bigfoot community, is how practical and how sensible everybody is. They're not.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
they're like
absolutely.
just people with jobs and people, and
Yeah.
you can go further and like hear about all these policemen and forestry workers and stuff that have had like really intense encounters and stuff. And I'm like, what? So
well, that's like that cop up in Whitehall. You know, back in the 70s. He knows what he saw, and he had no reason to lie.
Can you tell that story? Because I kind of...
I don't know it completely, but Whitehall is right on the border of Vermont. And I think it was back in the 70s. A couple was pulled over, you know, just doing what couples do. And I guess they looked up and they saw this big monster thing looking at them. And I'm paraphrasing. They took off and they went back to town. Or they saw a cop on the road and they told him, you got to go over there and check out this thing. And when the cop was outside looking around, he got a glimpse of it and jumped back in his car. And, you know, it went from there. And people started coming out of the woodwork saying, you know, yeah, we've seen it too. And we see, you know, and so it was just I mean, you know, people will say, oh, that's ridiculous. But there's way too many people that are coming forward saying that they're seeing this thing. And this was back in the 70s. So I can imagine what the population is up there now as far as Sasquatch. So, you know, I think I had told you that our conversation before that I was born in Vermont. And I was raised in Connecticut, but we spent so much time in Vermont. And my grandparents had a camp way up on the mountains. Actually, you can see the White Mountains from their camp. And all the time we were little, one of the funny things that we would do, and let me back up a second. My grandmother was one of those crazy kind of ladies, you know. She read National Enquirer and took it, you know. Everything in there was true. And she had talked to us when we were little about spaceships and all that kind of stuff. And she had said to me one time that she believed in Bigfoot. And I thought, oh, that's just Grammy talking. But when we would go up to camp, and this is what our tradition was, all of us kids, we get the fire going at night. And at some point in that, she'd say, you want me to holler at the bears? And we all thought, wow, bears holler back. We didn't know that. And she would make this noise, this loud noise, and we would all sit there quietly. And every once in a while, we would hear whoop in the woods, and we'd all say, "Oh, that's a bear."
The famous whoop.
My grandmother knew exactly what it was. I have no doubt in my mind. So she was, you know, she was a treasure to me, and she loved being out in the woods. She was a hunter and everything, snowmobiler. And at the camp, and this is what I would notice at night, and this is when I was a child, and it just did not seem right to me, but there was like a ravine going down in front of the camp, a big, long ravine. And sometimes at night, sometimes we would sleep out on the porch and stuff, and we would, in the middle of the night, like 2, 3 in the morning, you'd hear conversations going on down there, and it sounded like men yelling back at each other. But I could never pick out what they were saying, but it was loud, you know? And that was just one of the things that kind of filed away in the back of my head because it didn't make sense to me. And as we got older, just strange things, you know, like the tree knocks. That became so familiar when I heard it the first time on TV. My mind was saying, well, where have I heard that? And I realized I heard that in my grandparents. And they lived in Lunenburg, Vermont, which is right on the New Hampshire border. And, you know, it's notorious up in New Hampshire. You know, there's all kinds of stuff going on in New Hampshire. So there's no doubt in my mind that it was going on in Vermont too, because we had a lot, you know, there was a lot of deer, you know, and moose. They can definitely live there pretty good. Right. So when I got married, my husband and I decided we built a camp right on a lake right near where my grandparents' camp was. And one night, my sister had stayed there with her kids all by herself. And to get there, you have to go walk down this long dirt road. And when I went over the next morning to see how she was doing, she said, something weird happened last night. She says, I was laying in bed, and she says, I couldn't sleep, and all of a sudden I heard these two people talking and walking down. She said, but I don't think they were on the road. It sounded like they were in the woods. She said, and they were having this whole conversation, and they went by the camp, and then they left. And at the time, I'm thinking, that's weird, because we don't usually have people coming walking down there. So, and then as I started learning about Bigfoot, I'm thinking, aha, that makes sense now.
Right.
So you see what I'm saying? So like things that I have known all my life that didn't make sense, and I just pushed them into the back of my mind, they started making sense, after I learned about Bigfoot, and I just started putting things together. And there was another interesting thing I wanted to tell you is my second youngest sister. If I even bring Bigfoot up, she rolls her eyes and tells me I'm crazy. She doesn't know anything about it. But she and her boyfriend were out in the woods of Schnipsick Forest, which is on old Indian grounds in Connecticut. And they were out in the middle of the woods one night, had a campfire going, and they had our dog, Jack, who was a chow. And she called me the next morning. They were very upset because all of a sudden they heard what sounded like trees breaking coming towards them. And they got scared to death, and they started running with no lights or anything. They just followed Jack because he was way ahead of them. And they ran, and they got back in their car, and it freaked them out. Big time.
Man,
and
like elephants or something.
Yeah, exactly. And she says, and it was quiet. She said it was so quiet, but then all of a sudden the woods just burst open with noise. And so I've said to her quite a few times, I kind of think that might have been a Sasquatch. And she just rolls her eyes, I'm crazy. So that's basically how it goes in my life with my family, all of them.
The sounds that you heard when you were a kid, you've obviously heard some of the recordings that people have captured, the gibberish talking.
Yep.
It almost sounds like some Star Wars talk.
Yep. Exactly. And it's men, deep voiced men. Yep. And that would happen quite frequently. And I don't think I ever asked my grandparents about it. It was just one of those things, you just, okay. Don't know. There must be people living down there. That's all I could think of. But I know that there was that whole side of the mountain on the other side was free of people. There was nobody there. So, so it just was, it amazed me now that I think back. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Let's talk about your farm, because a lot of my listeners are in Europe, and there's not a lot of trees. There's not a lot of trees in Ireland because we cut them all down to make way for farmland, because we have such good soil, and that's how a lot of people lived. And a lot of people in Europe don't understand how expansive America is with trees and stuff. And like when you fly over America, and like I remember flying over Boston and missing it. Like I was looking out the window and I missed Boston. Because even in Massachusetts, there's so many trees.
Yeah, it's amazing when you fly across country and you see how much wilderness is really out there, and people have no idea. Yeah,
it's mind-boggling. So let's talk about the farm.
Okay, when we were, it was around 2007. We moved to a farm that was about 9 miles away from our house that we were living at, and we moved to North Granby, which is right on the border of Granville, Massachusetts, and Southwick, Massachusetts. The way our property, we have 11 acres, and it was a great big, almost like a circle. And then around that circle were these big mansion type houses. But we were very secluded. I guess this should have been my first clue, probably around 2008, our neighbor next to us, which she was probably, within sight, we could see their house, but we were pretty far apart from our neighbors. And they had a beautiful property that was just so many beautiful trees on it and everything. And one day the guys showed up and they started cutting down trees. They cut down the trees all around this woman's house. So she stopped by one day. She said, "Did you see our trees are gone?" I said, "Yeah, why'd you do that?" She goes, "I hate trees." And now I'm wondering if maybe something was going on at her house, and she wanted to just get rid of the trees because she put all kinds of lights up on the property after that. And I'm thinking that maybe after that is probably when they maybe started coming over onto our property, because we still had quite a lot of trees. So, yeah, I want to say it's around 2012 that things started happening on our property. one of the things was every once in a while, not all the time, at night, something would smack onto our house on the garage. And my husband would always say, well, it's just the door opening and closing. But it didn't sound like that because it would make the house shake. And we had a big house too, but you could just feel it. So I didn't think anything of it. Well, I don't know what it could be. And, my brother was living with us, and I had 3 horses, and I boarded in another 4 horses. The first thing that really struck me was we had a modified round bale holder. Normally they only weigh maybe, I would say, 75 pounds, but my ex-husband's a carpenter, so he put a roof on the top and everything, and he always overbuilt. So it was extremely heavy. And I looked out the window one morning, and it didn't look right, and the whole thing was tipped over on the roof, and it was probably about 10 feet away from where the round bale was. And so I'm thinking, oh my gosh, did one of my horses get caught on that or something? And I thought I was going to run down there and find one of their necks broken or something. And when I got down there, they were all kind of jittery and everything, but there was I checked all of their necks and everything was fine. So somehow that thing got tipped over, and we needed to use the bulldozer in order to pick it back up and put it back on. That's how heavy it is. So it didn't make sense to me. I couldn't figure it out. And then my brother and I both noticed, like at night when we would go down to get the animals set for the night, whenever I would want to take a video or something, I would turn on my phone, my battery would be charged, and it would just all of a sudden go dead the minute I went to flick to take a picture. And he noticed it too, and I'm just thinking, that's really strange. And we'd go back to the house, and my phone would be fine. And I had a husky shepherd cross who was ferocious. She didn't let anyone mess with us. And she would go down with me at night, and she would round up the horses for me. I wouldn't have to tell her. She knew what to do. She was awesome. And then all of a sudden, probably it was soon after we got our other dog. It must have been around 2009. She would not go down to that barn. I would have to put her in the car and drive her down to the barn, get her out, hoping she would hang out with me, but she would run right back up, and she would shake like, oh, it was awful. I felt terrible for her because that was her life. She loved being out in the woods and stuff. So that was another odd thing. And then we got 2 other dogs, 2 white shepherds, and when I would be coming out of the barn some nights, we had a culvert next to the barn, and it went down into there was like a little hill going down. And some nights those dogs wouldn't go close to it, but they would start barking and growling, and their hair would be up on their back and everything. And I couldn't get them to stop until I would start walking towards the house. Then they'd stop and they'd follow me in. And so it was just things were not adding up. I couldn't figure out what are they barking at. Sometimes they would go up in the woods and they would just bark and bark and bark at something in a tree. So I think I told you about the outlaws, the Bigfoot outlaw guys.
Yeah, I've been listening to that.
Yeah,
I love the southern accents.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they'd love your accent too. But Bear and Kumbo, they both met because they both in separate areas of the country. They both were raised in Mississippi and I think Alabama. I'm not quite sure. And they both were raised on farms that had what they call the boogers, and everybody knew about them.
Boogers, yeah.
Everybody knew what a booger was. I mean, and the amazing part is, you would go into a store and you would ask for a booger light because those would be sold, booger lights, and everybody in the South knew what they were because they knew that, you put lights up around your property and it will keep them away, hopefully. So it was just incredible. incredible. And then they did one show, and it was about the taboo. And the taboo is that quite a few friends of his had horses, and they would talk about these strange things that would happen to their horses when these boogers would come around. And one of the things is their manes would become it's like they twist, the manes have been twisted, like they do for a show. When you have put a horse in a show, you twist the mane. It was done very, not professional at all.
Like dreadlocks?
Kind of like that, yeah. And I would 3 or 4 horses would be like that when I would go down in the morning. And I had a mini horse, and his would be the worst. And my sister said to me, "Oh, that's because they rub up against the fence and stuff." But it just didn't make sense because it looked like somebody had done it. And one of the horses that I boarded, her name was Pudge, and one morning I went down and she was bleeding from behind, and she was ripped open. She was ripped open. We didn't think she was going to make it at first. It was awful. And, it didn't make sense again. And I think I meant to mention this other one to you. I had a horse named Scooter. And I came down one morning, and he had a slit from the top of his neck right down to the bottom of his shoulder. And it was like split open, like somebody had taken a knife and split it open. And whenever something would happen to my horses, I would start looking around, trying to find something, a nail or anything that they might have hurt themselves on, and, look for blood spots and everything. And I could not find anything. Not a thing. And so it was just puzzling. And I would say these things to, my husband and stuff, and he'd always have a, reason why it was happening because, guys like to be able to fix things right away. Right. So then this was the crescendo of it all. As I was sitting in the back with my daughter, she was in the pool and I was on the lawn chair, and next to our pool was almost a straight up cliff, and it was probably maybe about 15 feet above us. And we're just sitting there talking and stuff, and all of a sudden it was like the tree just burst to life, and all I saw was almost like the elbow, which I thought maybe was a bear or something, and it shimmied down the tree a little bit. It dropped, shook the ground, and took off, and it was bipedal. It was not a bear running. It was bipedal and I could feel the ground shaking as it left. And all of a sudden, I had started watching Bigfoot, but I wasn't really taking it serious. And all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh my gosh, could it be? And I'm thinking, no, it can't be, because they had done a series in Connecticut, and they said, oh no, there's no Bigfoot in Connecticut, which is bull, because
there's so many trees in Connecticut.
There's people all around in my area where I don't live there anymore, unfortunately. People all around that area have had sightings. And especially if you go on Sasquatch Chronicles, there's one guy who lived probably about 10 miles from me. And he had quite an episode with them when he was camping. And they scared him to death. And I don't know if you have ever heard of the Wild Man of Winstead.
I might have heard of it.
Okay, it was back in the 1800s that a report came out that there was a wild man living in the woods, and he was coming and he was stealing food and everything from people. And there was a big report on it, but I don't know whatever happened with it. But, so they have a very, very long history of being here. And like you said with Ireland, with the trees, Connecticut back in the 30s and 40s, we were pretty much a valley. That's why, there was not many trees at all. It was all farmland. So, that would make sense why all of a sudden we're starting to see a lot more, is because there's, we have a lot of trees here now, lots.
Yeah, I heard that about mass actually as well, that a lot of the trees are new growth because they had replanted a lot of the trees, and a lot of the trees aren't native to the state. So I don't know if it was the case in Connecticut too, but Connecticut, when you drive down, even just like to go to the beach or like to head down like to New York or something, you just see trees for miles and miles and miles and miles. It's like very, very forested.
Oh, absolutely. And we lived in North Granby. We pretty much lived in the middle of a forest. You would drive on our road to get there, and it was just, you know, you never saw the sun because there were so many trees in there, you know. So, you know, I started telling, you know, dropping hints to my husband and stuff that I think this is what's happening. And he rolled his eyes, you know. I'm used to that. My whole family, oh my, are you going to talk about Sasquatch again? So I've just learned to keep my mouth shut.
I know. So that's why what's so good about the internet, you can go to the Facebook page and talk about it and without ridicule. I think it's one of the most believable things that you can talk about that is taboo. You know what I mean? I mean, there are so many things that you can't mention. Like, I mean, we'll go into politics later, but I mean, on Sunday I'm going to see my family. My wife's family in Connecticut. Actually, no, it's not. Her family are from Connecticut and Kentucky, but we're going to go out and see some of the family in what the hell do you call it? It's near Springfield. I keep forgetting the name of the place. But we're going to have
Westfield. Huh.
No, it's beside Holyoke. It's got Q's and stuff. It's Indian name.
Chicopee.
Chicopee. That's it.
Okay. Yeah.
No Q's. But and I can't wait to see her uncle, Pete. He really wanted me when I first started, and I haven't seen him since I started podcasting. He's like, you got to talk about Bigfoot. And the first Bigfoot person I met was Crystal Panic. And ever since then, I've just been fascinated. And it's like, it's not like Bigfoot is like, you know, it's a common thread in the podcast. And it's not because, you know, it's kind of sort of like supernaturally chosen me. It's just because I'm really interested in it. And anybody that mentions Bigfoot and has like encounters like yourself, I will have on the show because I think it's so credible and it's fascinating too. Yeah.
It is. So
did you go onto the BFRO website and report your sighting and stuff?
No, I didn't. And at the time it was because, you know, there's a lot of people who say the BFRO is, you know, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing and everything. And that they get so at the time I didn't, you know, because I was listening to people who said, you know, they're a waste of time, but I have considered doing it again. It's just, sitting down and writing it out. That's my problem.
Now, you know, there's been a lot of criticism of Wes on Sasquatch Chronicles. You know, there's a lot of criticism about him on Reddit because when I was on the Reddit page for Bigfoot, I'm like, wow, I'm like, this is the gold standard of Bigfoot sightings.
Yeah.
And someone just like, please go away and stop shit posting here. You know, I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And
no, I think Wes got a bum deal because I believe everything he and his brother went through. I certainly do.
Yeah, I haven't really looked into it, but people thought I was being sarcastic. I'm like, no, I think it's really good. The story, actually, it was the Dixie the Dixie one.
Yeah.
Where the kids went into the barn and there was a big hole.
I just heard that.
That's nuts. That's like Stranger Things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was a scary one. And the other good guy is Bob Gimlin. I don't know if you ever listened to him.
He's the other half of the Patty Bigfoot, right?
No. You know, he is. It's spelled Bob, Gymlan, and I think he does. He just does stories, but he goes through them, and you could tell he's put a lot of thought into what he's talking about and research, and he knows his stuff. If you ever want to, and I love listening to him because if I want to go on a walk or something, I could just plug him in. I don't have to worry about watching the show, you know. I just plug him in because he doesn't do a video usually. So he's starting to put pictures up and stuff, but he's really great if you ever want to, you know, connect with him. Oh, the other thing I wanted to tell you when you mentioned Rhode Island. Now, you're probably going to want to hang up on me after I say this. I don't know, but
I don't care. I'll take anything.
Okay. When I was 18, my best friends and I, there was 4 of us, were traveling down. We were going to go to Musquamaket for the weekend.
Oh, yeah. That's the beach, right?
Yeah. Now, the last stretch of highway is you take the last exit to get down into the Musquamacut area. So we were coming down that stretch and we noticed a bunch of cars pulled over. We pulled over. We got out of the car. There was a UFO right above us, and it was massive. And it had almost like a grayish, opaque color to it, and then like almost bluish around the edge of it with lights. And it was during the daytime, and there was at least 15 different cars pulled over. And we got out, and immediately I said, I'm going to get my camera, because we didn't have cell phones back then. And the second I said that, this thing took off in a matter of, I'd say 2 seconds. It was gone, straight up into the air. And we all just stood there stunned. And I wish to this day I had gotten some names of some of the people, but we didn't. And so we were just blown away, and we get back in the car. Nobody's talking. But then we got to our hotel room, and a couple guys walk up, hey, girls, how you doing? And we started telling them about what we saw, and they walked away.
That was a good way to get rid of them.
Yeah, so we decided maybe we shouldn't tell anyone this. And I was questioning myself a couple years ago, thinking, did I really see that? Did I really see it? Because we hadn't even started drinking yet. It was, the beginning of the weekend. And I sent a text to one of Brenda, who I hadn't talked to in years. And I just said, Brenda, can you tell me what we saw when we were going to Rhode Island? She says, yeah, a UFO. And then my friend Debbie, who I'm still in touch with, we're very good friends, she all of a sudden said, do you remember when we saw that UFO? It was just amazing. But we were just so young, and we just, didn't want to tell people because they'd think we were crazy.
Yeah.
So I think, a lot of stuff has been going on around that people just don't even know. And I think we had talked early about, ghosts.
Right.
You want to talk about that for a sec? Or?
Sure. I've done a lot of ghost stuff, but everything's really inconclusive right now.
Yeah.
I still don't know what to think. But yeah.
Well, because, I used to believe that, ghosts were, the souls of our lost and, our dead ones and everything, or friends that have died and everything. And I believed that for a long time. And, when in my teen years, we were getting into the Ouija board and all that stuff, and had some pretty crazy stuff happen that convinced me there's something more to this than it's not just a game. And as I grew older, I started going to church in my 30s, and I started, becoming a believer in Jesus. And I realized just from reading scripture that these entities that everybody says, oh, that's my Herbert, my great grandfather or something, is really just a demon disguising themselves as one of your loved ones, because they observe us constantly,
Right.
So they know what will push our buttons. And because when I was doing the Ouija board, I had a friend that had been murdered in Enfield, and we were trying to contact.
Wow, you're kidding.
Yeah, we were trying to contact him. And all of a sudden, and there was one person in mind that a lot of people thought did it. And that name kept getting spelled out on the Ouija board. And so at the time I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's telling us who killed him. But no, it was actually demons playing head games with us, making us think that, So, but at the time I didn't realize, I had no clue. But I'm just, it takes a lot of pressure off having to, say, I want to talk to my grandmother and stuff. Well, you know what? I'm not going to be able to talk to her until I'm in heaven, really.
We'll come from Connecticut. You obviously, about actually that's Rhode Island. I'm thinking off The Conjuring, and that lady died tonight. One of the Warrens.
Yes, Lorraine Warren.
Yeah, she died earlier. I was all over the Twitter earlier. But the ghost hunter that I interviewed for this the podcast a couple of weeks ago, he was trained by the Warrens.
Yeah, I met them once. Yeah. They were. I was taking a night class to pass so I could graduate, and the night class was called Life After Death.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I aced it, yeah. They came in and lectured us, yeah.
One of my podcasts is called Life After Death.
Is it?
this young girl that had has a condition with her what's it called? Like, not COPD, but she's got a condition with her lungs, and she's had a few near-death experiences. And she became a believer after that, because she met entities, and she met Jesus and stuff when she was basically dead. And that stuff fascinates me, because I've astral projected so many times, and like been floating around my bedroom and see myself lying there. I know there's something on the other side. I just don't know what it is. And this podcast is basically my quest to find out what the hell it is, you know? So that's a big part of it.
You know what? I feel like I've learned all there is to know about, you know, demons and everything, but these Bigfoot,
they're pesky.
I just want to know every little thing about them. And what's your feelings on Dogman?
Oh boy, that's a good one. Dogman, because when I was growing up, we always had like a competition of like, who is the scariest monster? You know, who is your most feared monster? And my friend Davey, his was zombies, and another friend was Frankenstein, which I thought was stupid, because Frankenstein wasn't scary. But mine was always a werewolf, because he was fast, and he was. I'd seen American Werewolf in London, and that scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. Also, the devil, because we were raised Catholic. But the Dogman, I've heard a few credible sightings of the Dogman. Like a wolf that is bipedal is crazy.
Yeah. Yep. I absolutely believe that. I don't know if they're related to Bigfoot. A lot of people think they are. They break them down into different types. You know, there's Bigfoot 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's a canine, so I don't know how it could be considered, a hominoid, because it's not. And there's just too much proof out there. And, and that was another one. All right, I'll believe in Bigfoot. I am never going to believe in that Dogman stupid stuff, you know. And next thing you know, I started researching it, and I'm thinking, oh, my gosh, maybe they do exist. Do you ever listen to Vic Condiff?
What podcast is that?
He does 2 podcasts. He does one, and it's about Dogman, and then he does the other one is about Bigfoot. So he takes, and he's a wonderful man too. And he's on, if you go on iTunes, you can download his podcasts, and he gets some of the stories that come on. I mean, people come on and they're crying. Their lives have been ruined because they saw this thing. Yeah. They turn to drinking. They don't know what to do. And so he's doing a great service to these people, able to call and talk to them, you know. So, and not be laughed at like our families and friends do.
It's crazy, because to be quite honest, and I've always worn my heart on my sleeve, and I think that if I saw Bigfoot or Dogman, I'd be telling everybody on the job site. Absolutely. I'd be like one of those people. I don't think that I would be PTSD'd about it. I think that I would be telling everybody and his mother. Yeah. Yeah. But maybe I think that, but like I was Leominster State Forest, that's what the whole the whole Monsterland podcast is based on. Yep. Mhm. I just went up there one day, and I mean, I felt pretty foolish. I'm like, there's no one there, and it's really, really quiet, and it's really snowy, so you could hardly kind of walk, but I just grabbed the stick and just like sneakily like hit the tree a couple of knocks to see what would happen. And then I'm like, if anyone comes around the corner, they're going to be thinking I'm crazy. But apparently that place is very active. I don't know. I'm going to go there in the summer and check it out, I think.
Yeah, sounds great. I wonder if the Massachusetts guys are going to go out there.
Well, I spoke to Dave McCulloch about it. He said he would go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's my goal, is to be able to go somewhere, because like I told you, I had hip surgery and knee surgery, so I haven't really been able to get out on the, beaten path. I have to stay on sidewalks and things right now, but hopefully I'm walking as much as I can. I'm trying to build up my endurance, because that is my goal. That is my bucket list. I'm going looking for one.
Yeah, I want to as well. I was thinking of bringing my 10-year-old son, but then after hearing all of these stories, I'm like, maybe that's not a good idea.
Yeah, I know, because you never know if they're going to be, the really cranky kind, or are they going to be the curious kind that,
Yeah, I think they're like humans. I think they're like humans, and
Yeah.
I think that they have different personalities.
Absolutely, absolutely. Oh yeah, because I had forgotten to tell you that part about hearing the wood knocks at the 3 nights in a row. Remember I had told you about that? I was laying on the couch and it was like 90 degrees out. It was so hot out that night. And it sounded to me like a baseball bat cracking. That's the only thing I could come up, and it was so loud. And I had my husband go check the deck the next day because I thought that one of the beams had cracked or something. But then the same thing the night after that, and then the night after that. And I laid awake the second night because I wanted to hear it. I wanted to make sure I wasn't dreaming, and I wasn't. So. And
you heard it?
Yep, I heard it 3 times. And I don't know if there was any more than that one. And I don't think he stuck around all that long. But they could have been passing through for all I don't know. But I know that, even John Wilk had told me that there was a lot, they think there's a lot of activity at the Granville Gorge, which is right near where we were living. And it is creepy in there. You just get a creepy feeling. It's dark and it's beautiful, but it's dark and foreboding once you get away from the road. So yeah, that's another one.
I was doing a job up in Maine. I do construction work, so I have my own company, and I was doing a job up in Poland, Maine.
Yeah.
A couple of months ago, and then I'm listening to I think it was Sasquatch Chronicles, and there's a guy there who tells a whole story about a sighting in Poland, Maine. And when I was up there, I was joking about it in Facebook, and I'm like, updating my status, and I'm like entering Bigfoot country, and I actually did a podcast with my best friends back home about how this place is like just typical Bigfoot country. And then I read about his sighting and his brother when they were kids, that they had I think it's Class A when you actually see the thing.
Yeah, Class A.
It chased them off out of the woods, and it was going to kill them. It was an aggressive encounter.
Yeah. And do you ever read any of the 411 stuff going on?
No, but I've been listening to a lot of it. That's what I watch when I go to sleep. I get my little Kindle Fire and I put the headphones in, and that's how I go to sleep. I watch stuff like that. Yeah, I love that stuff. I can't read anymore. I just rather watch the video.
I know, me too. Me too.
But David Paulides is very credible, and he's talking about all these German intellectuals disappearing and ending up like 50 miles away with broken like skulls and stuff. It's absolutely crazy.
And sadly, lots of kids, lots of young kids, they're gone, and there's no trace of them ever. So yeah, that's scary, because we had talked about this about, people want to think that they're just this great big furry love button, but they're not. They're wild animals, and and Wes talks about that too, because every time somebody talks about, I'm going to go back out in the woods and check it out, and Wes will always say, be careful, man, be careful. Yeah. Because you don't want to be there by yourself if you find an aggressive one. Never. Mm-mm.
So we had 2 topics to cover, and I know it's already 45 minutes, and we have
it's been that long?
Yeah, I'm looking at the little counter. So you, my friend was like, please ask her about the correlation between government cover-up and cryptids. Now, and he mentioned QAnon. So
yes.
Can you please explain to our listeners what QAnon is? Because a lot of Europeans have no idea what the hell that is.
Okay. Yeah. QAnon came to life back soon after the election. And it started out on the dark web, on the 8chan. And whoever this Q person was starting to post things about things that are going to be happening and people that are getting in trouble and everything. And he would post this stuff, and these things were happening. And people started to take notice. But at first it was considered a dark web, just a dark web pedophile or something, and it just kept going on. And the more he posted, the more things were coming true. And so it started to grow. And I remember first hearing about it back 2 years ago. And I was one of those who said, it's just, it's a dark web thing. I'm not having anything to do with that stuff. But I just kept getting drawn back to it. And I started watching different YouTubers who were Q believers. And this thing, it just exploded. And now it's on, it's on mainstream. Not the media, but mainstream. And what it really is JFK, how he was assassinated, correct?
Right.
Okay. George H.W. Bush, who was our president after Reagan, he was actually the head of the CIA before that.
That's right.
So he is not a good man at all. He's a bad, bad man. He did really bad, bad things. And one of the bad things is when JFK made an announcement, and you can look it up on YouTube and find the speech where he said he is going to break the CIA into little bitty pieces because he found out what they were doing. He knew what they were doing. He didn't know that when he first got elected. And he vowed he was going to take care of them. And because of that, George H.W. Bush and his cronies had him assassinated.
And he couldn't remember where he was the day that JFK was assassinated,
there's pictures of him there. They have pictures of him standing on the on a wall watching the whole thing. This is, it's not disputable. This is what happened. And JFK Jr., that was supposedly killed in the plane in 1999 going to Martha's Vineyard. What happened was JFK Jr. he knew exactly who was responsible for the death of his father. And he swore that he would get retribution. So he came out, I don't know if you recall the magazine he came out with, it was called George.
No.
Did you know? Okay. It was back in the, I want to say the early 90s. He came out, he was publishing this magazine called George. And really what it was is, George H.W. Bush, I know what the hell you did, and I'm going to get you. And that's
I know what he did
was.
last summer.
Yeah, exactly. And so when Hillary Rodham Clinton was running for the Senate, now she needed that Senate vote. She needed to be a senator in order to give her credibility to be a president because that's what she really wanted. Right. Well, at that time, John F. Kennedy Jr. said he was going to run. And, the nation just loved him. John was just loved. And she knew if he ran for for senator, he would have power and he would be able to break open a lot of this stuff. So word on the street was they were going to kill him and his wife, and he had to get out because when the Clinton machine gets going, you're dead. There's no way to escape it. And so he, his wife, and his sister-in-law faked that plane crash that went over and landed in the water. They were not even on the plane. They never found the bodies, by the way.
Wow,
even though
really?
they say they found them. But this is the funny thing. Clinton said they found the bodies and they took them and buried them at sea. Who the heck would do that? Who would do that? If you find the bodies, you want to bring them home so the family can bury them.
Unless you're Osama bin Laden or something. Well,
the same thing with Osama bin Laden. Yeah. There's a lot of question whether he was even shot then. There's just so many things going on, and it boggles the mind. But once you start opening and I got to say that opening that little door with Bigfoot, by me saying in my mind, it could be true. My mind just burst open and I started thinking, this can be, why are they hiding this? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? And so what has happened is everybody who's on the Q team and the QAnons and everything know that President Trump is Q plus. Whenever Q plus puts something up, it's from President Trump. There's the military the good guys in the military that know exactly what's been going on in this country for years and years and years. They and JFK Jr. went to Trump and said, will you do this for us? Will you run? Because they knew he had a squeaky clean past. I mean, he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he might have had a couple, affairs or something. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
But and so that's the basis of it. And John F. Kennedy Jr. started making his appearance back in, I want to say June or July of 2018. And people started following it, and people started getting clues from Q. And the momentum grew to the fact that now anyone who is alt media, who is not part of the cabal, they know JFK Jr. is alive. I mean, I know it in my heart. Yep. And this is the plan. They are taking these sick people down, and they're all going to be in Gitmo. So that's basically what Q is, and it's an army of, we like to call ourselves the army of digital soldiers, because we don't go to the mainstream media for news, because it's all lies, and we know that it's all lies. Once in a while they might throw in a little bit of truth here and there, but it's all lies.
Well, it's it's like the Covington Catholic thing. That
yes.
For me, that did it for me. I spoke to my friends about that, and I was so up in arms about that. This Native American elder being put down, I was so mad. And then I read into it, and I'm like, hold on a second, this is bullshit. This is clickbait. This is absolute nonsense. And then I read into it a bit more, and I've been reading into it ever since. Do you like Gavin McInnes?
Oh, love him.
Oh, I've got a man crush on him. He's one of my favorites.
And I love his Scottish accent when he uses it.
Oh, he has it down to a T, and he is going to take down the SPLC.
Yes, he is, and they're going down too as we speak.
they're starting, the towers crumbling.
Yeah, and that's what's happening all over it's not just in America, it's all over the world. Things are starting to crumble. The bad guys are being taken down. They are. And that doesn't mean that the world is going to be all cotton candy and everything. It's going to be a lot of work, and there's going to be a lot of pain, but it's going in the right direction finally. And these people are going to pay big time, especially Clinton Foundation. Anyone involved in that, they're going down.
Well, do you know, obvious, I know that you know about the Lolita Express and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And Clinton, his name's there on. Yeah, Jeffrey Epstein. And he has but people don't want to listen to this kind of, they don't want to hear it. No. My wife's a big Clinton person, and she has her heart's in the right place. But when I bring up Jeffrey Epstein and all of these underage girls they have on that island, and Clinton goes there all the time on this plane they call the Lolita Express. It starts an argument, and she gets mad at me.
Well, she's not woke yet. She will be. Just trust that she will be. Because there was a lot more stuff going on Epstein Island than just children being trafficked. I'm talking, you think of the brutalest, awfulest thing that you could do to a child? That's what's going on. But it's shut down. I mean, Epstein, that's why they tried to go in and bury all the tunnels. But the people that they hired to bury the tunnels were actually the good guys. So they were able to get in there, and they got lots of pictures of awful, awful stuff that you don't want to see. I can't unsee it, and it's so bad.
I try to ignore it. What about the Franklin Credit Union scandal? You know about that, of course.
The Franklin Credit Union scandal. Let me know. Tell me.
With that's one of the worst ones. That's with not Rodney King. What the hell is it? You see, I didn't. Yeah. And he was trafficking kids to the bushes and stuff. And
And let's talk about Jimmy Savile.
Oh, Jimmy Savile. Sorry, Kathryn. So I was my son's playing video games, and I was just letting him know that I was here and he was okay. And so
Okay.
Jimmy Savile is excuse me. When I was a kid, he was a big thing when I was a kid in Ireland and England and stuff. But I wrote to him, and he had a little show called Jim Will Fix It. And what it was when you were a kid, you would write to him and say, "Hey, Jim, I really wanna fight Darth Vader with a lightsaber. Can you fix it for me to do that?" So kind of like Michael Jackson, he just wanted kids around. So obviously it never went anywhere, but that I really wanted, because I was a big Star Wars fan, I wanted to fight like a fake Darth Vader on his show, and he would do these shows where he would, but he was into necrophilia and everything. People don't know that.
Yeah, he was a pig.
He had access to the morgue. Well, pigs can't understand. I don't think so anyway. Maybe we'll find that out. We just found out that they have brain cells that...
Oh, okay.
You heard that one, right?
Yes.
They got all these slaughtered pig heads and like sawed their brain open and found like alive brain cells. I'm like, oh, I don't want bacon tomorrow morning.
No. Yeah, I mean, and let's not even talk about The Crown. I probably shouldn't even mention anything about that.
Well, no, that's fine. You can talk about whatever you want. There's a podcast, but he was another knight. And I don't know about the royal family. I don't know about how did this guy get through the cracks.
Yeah, because that's what they all do, basically.
Yeah,
it is.
But do you ever hear of Lord Mountbatten?
Yes.
Well, wow, you're woke. You're definitely woke. Well, he was apparently a famous paedophile in the royal family, and when he was out in the I guess it was in Ireland, he was out on a fishing boat, and the IRA blew his boat up.
Yes, I remember that. I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Now the sad part about it was that he had his 15-year-old nephew there, so that was kind of like bad, but yeah. And then this whole thing about Michael Jackson and stuff, like for years, I was like in denial. I really was. I was like the media, because I'm very anti-media, and I thought, well, the media are just going after him and they're lying to us again. And Michael Jackson is totally innocent, and they're totally going after him, and they're making us think one thing when we should be thinking another. But it turns out that he was. I mean, are you going by that HBO documentary? I'm going by Jim Clemente and Francie Hicks. Do you ever listen to Real Crime Profile?
I have listened to that. Yes.
Well, Jim Clemente is a sex abuse survivor himself. He was groomed from an early age, and he became an FBI prosecutor. And he has this podcast with Francie Hicks, who is a child sexual abuse prosecutor, and both of them are absolute experts. And they're doing a whole show on the whole Michael Jackson thing at the minute, and they're like releasing a lot of stuff that we haven't heard before. And I think that Michael Jackson was definitely guilty.
Yeah, I know. I heard, because I love Michael Jackson, and I even have the Encyclopedia of Michael Jackson.
You still have a hard time with it?
Yeah, I do, because I just love his music, and
I did for years.
And I did watch. There was I forgot who put it out, a documentary counter-punching the documentary on the HBO, showing that the witnesses that came forward were actually paid off. Yeah. And that their stories changed. They couldn't stay on the same story. So that gave me a little hope. I don't know. I mean, I could still listen to him on my headphones if I want, and I will.
Well, I'll tell you what. Go and listen to Jim Clemente's take on it. And I'm not going to try to change your mind. But
no, that's all right. That's all right.
I am, because I'm very suspicious of everything I'm told, especially with Matty McCann and stuff like that. But that's just going on all over Hollywood. So, I mean, that's Hollywood. That's what they do. Yeah. They like little kids in Hollywood. That's what they do. What's wrong? It's always been about pedophilia from the beginning to the end. Because that's their god. That's they're Luciferians. That's what they have to do. Did you hear the new mascot? I don't know if it's just in California, but instead of Smokey the Bear, it's Moloch the Owl. Did you hear that? No, I believe it though. I saw a video earlier, and it was like it was telling children to go this way. in Redwood. I swear to God. And instead of Smokey the Bear, which it has traditionally been, it was Moloch the Owl.
See, they put it right in our face. They put it right in our face. And the people that know what they're doing, it drives us crazy because we know exactly what they're doing. But you try to tell somebody who's not woke what they're doing, and of course you get labeled as a crazy. So, yeah, I've lost a lot of friends over the past 6 months, I would say, that don't want to talk to me anymore because, when I learn something, I have to tell people, and if they don't want to believe me, then that's fine. But, I'm going to keep talking.
So we'll come full circle. Why do you think that the government are involved in a Bigfoot cover-up?
Well, partially because I don't know how much it has to do with logging, but I know that, like the national forests and everything where they are.
It's big money.
Mostly, yeah. If they started saying that there's Bigfoot out there and that they can kill you and kill your kids and everything, I mean, how quick would people stop going to the national forest?
That's it. Nail on head. Yeah, that's it. That's what I think.
Yep. And they don't, and it's because of the state of mind of these people. They just love pulling stuff over on us. And they laugh. They sit back with their cigars and they laugh. These people are so stupid. We've got these great apes running around all over America. They're 10 feet tall, and these people are so stupid. We're never going to tell the truth.
So what about, that was easily answered because I think exactly the same thing. If there is conspiracy and the government do want to keep like cryptids from us, it's because the forestry, what's it called? State forest industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So what about Alex Jones? What do you think of him?
I never really cared for Alex Jones.
No?
No, I never did. Just because he just seemed really boisterous. I mean, a lot of things he said I agreed with, but I just could not stomach his voice. Just really irritates the heck out of me. I'm sorry.
He makes me laugh. Probably because I'm a guy, and I just
There's a big following of Alex Jones people, but there's a lot of word on the street that he is also a shill.
I heard.
And going back, and did you see this latest thing about the Sandy Hook shootings?
Well, that's been going on for a while, yeah.
Yeah, but now he's come out and he said that he was delusional when he made those statements, and that just really ticked me off.
He was psychotic.
Yeah, because I did a lot of research on that one too, and I'm starting to realize that there are many false flags going on across the world. That these we're not supposed to be living like this. This is not what God had intended for our lives on this earth. And it's just, they want to cause so much havoc in our lives that we can't see the truth. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just keep pummeling us with all these lies that we've been hearing all of our lives, that, to wake up to it, to what they're doing. I mean, it's life transforming. It is. And I have joy now. I didn't used to have joy. I used to be dreading all the time, like, what's going to happen today? I have joy now because I know that God is in control. I know that the Q team are taking care of business. And, it's not going to all get wonderful at once, but we are definitely on the upswing now. We're going to go through a couple of really bad times, but we're all going to hang on and get through it. So
when you say God, could you explain God?
Yeah. God is God. He's the creator of us and our earth, and he loves us. He wants relationships with all of us. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people who have chosen to follow Lucifer.
Right.
So that's basically, in a nutshell, yeah. And he I look at it like Shakespeare. It would be like Shakespeare writing a sonnet and coming down and putting himself into it. It's the same thing. God has written a story, and he came down and he placed himself within the story. Jesus. Huh. And that, once the world wakes up and realizes this and knows this to be true, that things will finally start to change. So, but, the signs are out there, all kinds of stuff going on. If you follow the Bible at all, you can just see through Revelations the things that are happening. So, I bet that what do you call that church that just burned? Notre Dame. Yeah. I bet that's in Revelation somewhere. And my friend actually that asked me to ask you about the link between QAnon and Bigfoot, he has a whole thing about something that the French president said. I can't remember actually. I will. Macron.
No, I will actually, because I have my phone right here, and I will read it out for you because he's very intelligent. He writes books and stuff, and any rebuilding should be a reflection not of old France or the France that never was, a non-secular white European France, but a reflection of the France of today, a France that is currently in the making. That's what they said. That was from the Rolling Stone today. So what does that mean?
Well, if you go inside the Notre Dame, a lot of the it's still intact. Did you know that?
Well, I saw the photographs of the cross and stuff like that.
Yeah, but if you walk inside the building, it's still intact. There's things that have fallen from the roof and everything, but I mean, it's going to be a lot more renovation than what they were counting on. But I think the core of the building is still there. So, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know whether they wanted it to burn down because it was going to cost the Vatican way too much money to fix it. I don't know whether it was a false flag. I don't know, because I know that a lot of these things that are happening in the world are happening because, first of all, because the D-class is coming, okay, and the FISA reports and the Mueller report, they're all coming out and finding out, wait a minute, the president is innocent, but all these other people are guilty. So they're trying to change the news narrative. And that's what I truly believe. That's what New Zealand was all about.
Like the Eye of Sauron, when something happens, that's what the hobbits were trying to do. Remember, they were trying to create a diversion, and the eye would turn, and then the hobbits could get through. Yeah,
and don't look that way, look this way.
That's what the media is, the Eye of Sauron. That's what I call it.
It is, absolutely, yes. I truly believe that, yes. So they were hoping that the New Zealand one was going to be a lot more coverage, but it wasn't. And so when the deep state found out that the Mueller report was going to be released this week, that was their way of trying to change the narrative again. But it's not working, and they're running out of ammo. So,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
So what New Zealand basically did was, after that mass shooting, they said that we're totally open. Our borders are totally open to illegal immigration, and that was a bad move on the president's part. I know her heart was probably in the right place, but that was a silly move. How she handled that.
Yeah, and let's take all the guns away from our citizens too. So
yeah.
Yeah, and that's what they want that's what they want for America, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So.
Yeah, I got to get one of them things. I got to get one of them guns. I have my safety license, but I've got like 2 kids that I have to, protect. And so, how many podcasts have you been on before?
None.
Really, you should go on more podcasts because you can talk.
I know. You know what? It comes down to having to write things out.
Yeah.
Because I get so caught up in the minutia of it. Because I wanted to talk to Wes at some point, and I started writing out my story, and I said, "Out to heck with that."
Well, you could just
work.
But you were able to talk about it just without writing anything down tonight.
Yeah. Well, it's been in my head for a while now, so
you're
the only one I could talk to about it.
Well, I knew that I didn't write anything down because from our conversation the other night, I'm like, I can do this last minute and it'll just go fine because Kathryn's got so much material that we don't have to write anything down. And if we need to...
I didn't even go to my notes either. It just all came out. Yep.
So where are you today? And what do you like? I mean, what's your life looking like today?
Oh, well, I got extremely, extremely sick. And that's the reason I am not married any longer, because he forgot about those vows.
Oh boy.
So we had to leave the farm, and I was in a nursing home for a year, and I'm now on the upshot because they found a good medication that's working for me. So I live in a little tiny apartment in Broadbrook. I have my dog and my bird and, my, YouTube. So I'm good.
So you still see your kids and stuff like that?
I'm sorry?
You still see your kids and stuff that they're around?
Oh, yeah. And they just, they call me crazy mom. So, if I mention anything about Sasquatch, they both roll their eyes and walk away. So that's fine. Did
you hear the story about the lady that lived with the Bigfoots? Did you hear that one?
Yes, you were telling. Yes. That was fascinating. And I believe it. I do. I believe it.
I kind of do too, because this guy's from Kentucky, and he's like, he's talking to Wes. Wasn't it Wes?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I know this sounds it's actually the name of the episode is called "I Wouldn't Believe It If Someone Told It to Me" or something like that.
That's right. Yep. I remember that.
And I heard this link on the Monsterland podcast, and I'm like, if someone said it in a different voice, or if it was some crazy person telling me this, I would just think that it sounded like Bigfoot and the Hendersons. I mean, yeah. these Bigfoots were living in the house, and
yeah.
There's
been lots of stories about people having relationships with them, and I love this part about, growing a garden for them and growing a garden for you, so that they would stay away from your garden, and and they're very good about that too. They don't, they don't take all the food. They leave some for you. So, that's the way they dealt with the Indians too. Native Americans. They would trade. They did lots of trading and stuff.
Gavin McGinnis says Indians, and his wife's Indian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he doesn't worry about that. Do you know what my theory is about my theory about Bigfoot is that she was a what the hell do you call them? Neanderthal. No, Neanderthal, and I think when we genocided them, they went into hiding, and they grew thicker skin and more hair, and they're as smart as us, and they know to stay away from us because it's in their DNA or their genes. They know that we're very dangerous.
Well, you think about it. How many, what did they think when they saw us killing each other during the Civil War? You know, all these people with those fire sticks, and they're dangerous. We must stay away from them.
They're probably sitting watching people having picnics, watching the Battle of, what do you call it?
Oh, the Battle of Gettysburg?
Yeah. Bigfoots are like, we're staying away from these fuckers because they're crazy.
It's true. And they know what guns are, so they're smart. They're very smart. Yep, lots more smart than we all think. So, and plus their language is just I love hearing whenever they do the Bigfoot vocals. There's another guy. Do you ever follow Todd? I should know his last name. Todd Standen. He's up in Canada. He got labeled as a hoax for a long time, and everybody laughed at him.
Todd? No.
Todd Standish? I should know it, but I'll send you a copy of his name. But he had Dr. Bingernadel up there. He had what's his name from the college? He's a big Bigfoot guy.
Todd Standing.
Yes. And even Survivor Man spends a lot of time with him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's awesome.
He just came out with a documentary last year that was so good. And you could see where the apples were being put on the tree with Dr. Fingernail. And you could see them just starting to disappear as they're talking. And it was just incredible. I think this guy knows what he's talking about.
Well, when Les Shroud, I was actually watching him earlier when he came out and said that he believes in Bigfoot. I mean, I think that's anybody that...
gave a lot of credibility to it,
It really did.
Yes.
Todd Standish, I have his thing up here. It's He has his own YouTube channel. I'll definitely look at that. Did you hear the one about the lady that was on a business trip from England, and she went down to the beach in California and saw them all sitting on the beach hitting each other with seaweed?
No.
It was crazy. And they were like throwing seaweed at each other on the beach. And
so do you know what show that was?
I think that was that Sasquatch Chronicles? Yeah, it was Sasquatch. Sasquatch Chronicles, yeah.
Okay.
And it was in the last 100 shows, but they ran for her, and she just remembers waking up, like she was really beaten up, and she had her clothes were torn and stuff. But there was female Bigfoots there, and she think that the male Bigfoot like carried her off, and the female Bigfoots intervened and saved her. Yeah, but she won't come back to America again. She's from England, and she was a big
if you
top
could find
executive.
that could you send me a link to it?
Oh, I will. It's an amazing story.
Okay.
One of the best ones I've heard.
Yeah, that sounds great. Listen, I'm going to have to go because my dog needs to be out for a walk.
I hear you. Me too. My son needs some attention, and that is a great conversation.
Okay. It was great talking to you. I'm glad we finally hooked up.
I know. It was
I
worth
hope
it.
to talk to you soon. Okay. Take care.
All right, Kathryn. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye for now.
All right. Bye now.